Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. And as you'll see, we've got a couple of familiar faces. We've got Ewan and Liam on with us. Ewan, how are you doing?
Good. Nice to be back on the floor. Thanks for the podcast after a couple of weeks off before last week.
Hey, and then Kilmarnock, you were the only one of us to make the trip through. Good away day all in all?
Yeah, it was good. I took my little sister down. So coming from up in the sticks down at Livingston across to Kilmarnock, back to Livingston, back up here. So it was quite a round trip to be honest. But all in all, pretty decent day. Yeah.
Nice. And Liam, you joined me in mainland Europe watching the game. Bit of a frustrating one at the weekend.
I would say so. Kind of the reverse of the fixture there earlier on the season. Where we obviously got into a 2-0 lead and got pegged back. So it's always nice at a government and to get a point, and it is to throw away 2 points from a winning position. But it probably doesn't make me feel more or less confident about us as a team going forward, in all honesty.
Yeah, fair. But we are joined by a special guest, first appearance on Down the Slope, and someone that might not have as much confidence as the rest of us in the system. But Chris, if you we got Chris on because we think he's funny on Twitter and he's got some fun Hibs opinions. But Chris, how you doing?
I'm good, Harry. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm excited to have you on, mate. It feels like a long time coming. We've discussed it a few times.
Let's finally pulled the trigger. Well, happy to be here.
Yeah, good. And as we say, nobody tends to stick to the very end. So if there's anything you'd want to plug, then please do plug now.
No, honestly, carry on. I'm in a band called Hospital Corner. You can check that out if you want to.
Hey, Hospital Corner, find them on your streaming services such as Spotify and Apple Music.
You're better at this than me.
But back to Hibs content, just before we get cracking onto the game, I know we touched on a few of the potential transfers last week, and one of these is still pending, but transfers, is when it's January, that's all we care about. So first of all, it looks pretty imminent that James Jago is leaving the club. And I'll let you kick off with kind of your feelings towards that.
He's been referred to as James on this podcast for the start, Harry. He's been here for 12 months. But I think it's a move that makes sense. We've obviously brought in a couple of centre midfielders. Jake Doyle-Hayes is, I believe, returning to fitness soon. It would be it'd be wrong for me to sit and say anything, other than I think it's the right thing for the club to do. I've sort of made my opinions known as recently as on that open goal thing the other week. I don't know if anyone's watched it back, but Simon Ferry tried to praise Jago, and that didn't go down too well with me. So, I think it's a move that probably makes sense for all parties. He can go back to Australia, and he's been fine.
And Chris, where do you stand on Jago? Obviously, I think we've kind of nailed ourselves to the mast as a podcast. We think he's not quite what we need.
No, there was a point, and I think I tweeted about this. There was a point, I can't remember exactly when it was, where it looked like he was actually going to be a very important player for the way we played. So it couldn't have been under Montgomery, I don't think. But there was a sort of 4 or 5 games. It might have been earlier this season, so it might have been under Montgomery. That looked like he was going to be very important for us. Not a saucy baller, I would say. But there was a time where he looked like he was going to do a job. But I mean, overall, it's probably best. If he gets the chance to go back to Australia, it's probably best for him, it's best for us, and we just shake hands and go our separate ways.
Hey, Liam, I would open the floor to you, but I don't know if there's anything you could add that you've not said before.
I think on Chris's female saucy baller, I think if Jimmy Jago was a sandwich at Tesco's, I think he would be the plain ham sandwich. He was just very, very functional, a bit dry, a bit uninteresting. He was an adequate stopgap, much in the way that a plain ham is an adequate stopgap if you're just trying to bridge between breakfast and dinner. But he was nothing more than that, to be honest. I think in a 4-4-2 was never really going to work for him. He maybe could have had a future as a sort of guy come off the bench and do a job for you in a 4-3-3 or a similar system, but a 4-4-2, it doesn't have the basic skills to be able to play that position.
Right. I just hammered Jimmy J. I would have said maybe like a BLT if it was missing the B, like just like a lettuce tomato. Just kind of nobody would ever pick that off the shelf, but if you've got it, you'd eat it anyway.
No, it's been tampered with. No way. The bacon's been removed.
But let's speak about some spicy sandwiches. That's definitely not the right terminology. But transfers coming in, we've got 4 ones that I want to talk about that are actually in the door and confirmed. As mentioned, we spoke about a few of these boys last week, but they're now official. So starting off with Emiliano Marcondes. We've got a player in our hands, boys. I think it was clear as day when he came on against Rangers, although it wasn't the result we wanted. He just kind of had a touch of class about him, and every single time he got on the ball at the weekend, I think we all got excited. It's not too often that we get a player that you can just kind of see his levels above everybody else on the pitch as soon as they enter it. But it's really hard not to get in too deep about this one. I think we've got an exciting player for 6 months. Chris, I'll come to you first on that. What did you make of our new maestro?
Yeah. There's these players come along every so often, don't they? Where it's like he should not be here, and I mean the only reason he is here is obviously because of the Bournemouth thing. So the Scottish League again, silly, daft league that sometimes when you just have one player like that, it can be worth 12, 15, even more points in 6 months because he can just do things that others can't do. And you know, there's been a lot of times over the season where we've had a lot of the ball and we've not been able to unlock defensive. Nobody's been able to just do something out of nothing, and you just feel like he's the guy that is going to do that. He is going to do something out of nothing. He is going to, you know, score from distance. He is going to put a free kick in the top corner, something like that. He is going to play people in. He just shouldn't be here, basically. And we're lucky that he is.
And Liam, like we just spoke about Diego, and I think that I don't mean to bash Diego, but literally everything that is opposite to what he is as a footballer is probably what we've got there in Marcondes.
Very, very different types of player. I was trying to think of a comparison. The best I could come up with at the weekend was he was like Alexei Remenko, the Mercurial number 10, who is going to be able to do things that others can't, and maybe do stuff that's quite unpredictable. The best Hibs version of him I could think of was remember under Pat Lynham when we signed Dennis Rossa in the January, and whilst he didn't quite hit the heights, I don't think of anything like an Eremenko. He really had something about Rossa that was like extended beyond meeting. I don't think we ever saw the best of him. I thought he was a baller. So I just hope that he can realise, given that he's had these challenges of injury, I just hope he can realise anywhere near his sort of full range of, I wouldn't say potential because he's 29-year-old, but like full range of what he can do whilst he's here. And we just enjoy it for while it lasts and don't worry about like his contractual situation and don't worry about anything other than just watching the guy play and just enjoying it and just savouring the moment. Because I think far too often we think about the future. Sometimes you see it like they've been too deep about it. Just fucking savour the moment. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. He's probably going to do some mad shit at some point that's going to cost us some points as well. Because players like that do mad shit. But just enjoy it.
And you were the only one of us to actually make the trip through. And was there could you feel it in the atmosphere, the excitement whenever he was on the ball? I know that before the game had even kicked off, you'd messaged the group chat saying that he was the best to ever kick a ball.
Yeah, no, I think it was clear there was I was going to say a swagger, but I don't know if swagger is the right word. Just an air of confidence about him. It was quite early on in the game. It was definitely still 0-0. He came really deep to take the ball off the centre back, and he had a command it player right up his back, and he just held it, and he just rolled it back to the goalkeeper thing. But there was no panic at all, and the touches that he showed were they were a level above anyone else on the park, to be honest. And people will say that it's a difficult place to play football and stuff. Well, he made it look pretty easy at the weekend. The one thing, he's definitely not blessed with blistering pace. So I probably think that he's going to have to play centrally. I don't envisage that. We'll see him sort of playing on either side, which is fine because we have other options there, and he displayed what he can do in the middle of the park. But he looks a great player, and I mean that's what was that the first time he'd played started a game this season? So you'd think he's only going to get better as well.
And can I just say, like, playing a player like him out in the wing would be an absolute fucking travesty. Like, it would be a complete mismanagement. We started putting guys in. It was like when Heckenbottom started using Scott Arnold. Please never do that. You know, guys like good technicians of the ball, play them fucking centrally. And what he essentially was doing on Saturday was just playing free role. He was coming deep to get the ball sometimes. He was playing further up the park. If that's what it takes to get him into the team and get the best out of him, play him in free roles, let him do what he wants. And in games like that, like I think there'd be maybe other games that you'd have to maybe restrict his movement a wee bit. In games like that, just let him go and occupy. He's clearly a clever player. Go and occupy where the space is.
Yeah,
you would imagine a player like that would the level that he's come from. You'd imagine that he would have the versatility and the knowledge to be able to know when to be free and when to move and when to fit into a system as well. So you would like to think that he could do both those things pretty comfortably.
It was quite obvious, and maybe there's been some points come into this, but I mean, I don't think Dylan Venn had a great game at the weekend, but he was noticeably further up the pitch. You know, like he wasn't the one that was coming deep anymore. There was a sort of half chance he had in the first half that I actually just don't think even breaks for him last week, because he is beyond Marcondes and he gets the snapshot away from the edge of the box, and that all comes from a dummy from Marcondes. Like, whereas, like I said, probably even as early as the Rangers game, it's probably Venti that's trying to do the dummy. Like, I think he will demand his place in the team, which will demand that Hibs play slightly differently than we have in the last couple of months, which for me is actually half the reason why I'm just as excited, because he is a totally different option to what we've had currently. And like Liam said, you want him to get on the ball in the middle of the park, which is definitely something we've lacked recently.
And I think one thing I noticed on him, sorry Liam, though, you try to come in there. One thing I noticed on him, I think you kind of see it at all the players that are at that level. John Yo mentioned it when he's on the podcast talking about Villa players. Like, the conditioning he had, I thought was incredible. Like, he kept dropping back even deeper than the deep line playmakers, if you might call them that. And then he was up the other end of the pitch. And then normally when we've got players that have got that ability, looking at the likes of Scott Allen, as soon as it hits 60, 65 minutes, they just kind of go downhill and they plummet. Whereas it might have just been, we got lucky one off, but I just thought towards the end of the game he still had that kind of air of class about him, and he wasn't dipping and fatiguing, which is just ridiculous for Scottish football.
My mission, just to continue to love it, and just for one more wee minute. It's a wee throwback coming to play like I'm playing in the 10 as well. Like, I think like football's become really fucking dull, and like it's probably typified by, like, I don't want to dig him out as an individual, but typified by guys like Josh Campbell playing in the 10, who's in the 10 because he's really good off the ball. Fuck that. Like, give me a player who's really good on the ball playing in the 10, like, who can do all the things that we've just spoken about. You watch a lot of football, you know, Premier League, like even Serie A now, they're playing a lot of guys in the 10 position who are essentially just guys that are there to press. Like, we're playing teams in the league where a lot of the time pressing's not really of interest to us. Like, it's more about what we do with the ball. Sorry, I'll let you close it.
Fuck you, Harry. Liam, do you not think though that, like, and just some more football thing in general, it's like the players are almost playing deeper, further away from the opposition goal. Like, this demand for a number 6 now to be like the best player on the team with the ball, which we are guilty of as well. Like, look at how we just described Jimmy Jago, but it's like the better players are getting further and further away from the goal in modern football, and it's quite depressing. Like, you'll go on TikTok or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and you'll see like Premier League years, and it's like 2005, and it felt like there was a screamer every single week in that. And I agree, like, he does look like that type of player that, not obviously at that level, but is of that mould.
Not enough fat guys play football anymore in the top. Like, we need more David Dunns. You know, like these tens that kind of run the line for themselves. Like, yeah, nostalgia. That's all we're after.
I normally like a segue, but of the signings we made, there's definitely no fat guys involved there. I was going to say, but that's probably a good thing. But in terms of one guy who is in great condition, and Billy King the North made a good point. He asked, is a modern football fan too impatient? Example, fans completely writing off Maolida after the Rangers game. I think the difference in his play from both games was astronomical. Obviously, Rangers one of the better teams in the country, but I thought he looked brilliant when he came on. I was quite excited for him signing. Obviously, he played against Rangers and we were all kind of scratching our heads a bit, but I thought he looked excellent for that. Was it 20 minutes maybe towards the end after they got the red card? And Chris, that goal, obviously Levitt wasn't up to too much, but brilliant ball forward, and Maolida, that's just a touch of class in it.
Yeah, it's a good way a good ball for Levitt, and clever from Maolida not to really not to really take a touch. He just kind of nursed the ball as it came to him, because he could have taken a touch, was back fully to goal or whatever, and then that changes the situation. So he managed that really well, and then great finish. I mean, I think when a player like that arrives, and then you start to all the articles about him from his previous clubs get shared around, and you start to read, what ex-managers have called him, and then he starts against Rangers and he's struggling to judge the flight of the ball, and there is a wee bit kind of like, oh no, like what have we got on our hands here? But that was very reassuring on Saturday, because there's a player in there. People didn't pay all that money for him over all those years for absolutely no reason. So there's a player there. It's just about whether we can get it out. So it was very heartening to see that he could put in a shift when he came on. He did put in a shift when he came on against Kilmarnock, because the Rangers game wasn't fantastic, but it was just in the door. So
a different position at the weekend as well. That's the thing. I think you would look at him and think he would belong in the middle of the park, if that makes sense. I know he's a big sort of imposing guy, and Liam might not like this comparison for a few reasons I'm sure he'll be able to put together. But for me, like, he's an upgraded version of him. But like Joe Newbley at Livingston, he was never a striker. And when he played down the middle of the park, he struggled. But his best games came off the left-hand side. Just because you're 6 foot plus and you're not necessarily blistered in pace, you can still be a good technical player that can cause a threat. And for me, that's where I see him play coming off the side. Again, I don't think we have signed a striker in either the A2. I don't think they're going to play as high on the park as Dylan Vente or even like an Ellie Uran. I still think my leader's best position is going to be a little bit deeper and coming in the way that he did for the goal. And he had another sort of half moments, if you like, as well. A couple of decent crosses into the box, and when he got the fullback squared up, who I can't remember who it was, but he caused them a lot of problems.
Anything to add to that, Liam, or do you want to take us on to the centre mids?
No, I think we're on to the centre mids. I'll start with Luke Amos, because we kind of talked about him. We've talked about him for 6 months. He thought might come in, then did come in, and I think it's still really early to kind of the point that's just been made about Lee. That's too early to really make a judgment on him, but he looks as though he has got something. Probably don't play for the clubs that he played for without having something about you. The major concern is obviously the injury record. I think he's been signed up an 18-month deal with a year, 3.5 year deal, because on paper he looks like an acquisition that we would be all over, and we'd probably come in this league and do very well given some physical attributes, because he does look. I know Ryan touched on him having a couple of ACL injuries last week, but I've got to say I still think he looked pretty mobile from what I've seen, and actually ACL surgery is not what it was. Like, ACL surgery, generally people make a pretty fulsome recovery from that. So I do think he looks like a good acquisition. I just think the thing is it going to take him 4, 5, 6 weeks before we see anything like the best of him? And then you're talking about maybe being in sort of March time before he's kind of fully up to speed. I think that's the worry with a guy that's not played, and as long as he has, and I know you could say the same for Marcondes, I think it's slightly different just given the roles that they're being asked to do. Because again, Amos is going to be asked to get a lot of possession, because the other guys in there just aren't cutting it in that respect at the moment.
And I'm going to open this to the floor, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have a single clue about Nathan Mariah Welsh. I'm excited that he's at the club, but I couldn't tell you anything about him. Is there anybody that wants to take that on, or anybody read anything that's about him?
No, I mean, our group chat, so Tony from the Terrace, he's in there. He was kind of posting today saying that from what he's read about him, like, it seems like his style is really going to suit Scotland. Like, he's all action, likes a tackle, so from what I'm hearing, having never seen him play, but like the attributes that he seems to bring, they do seem to align with what is successful in Scotland. So that's at least a positive. I've got nothing else.
Seem to I know it's a great level to talk to the info, and it is they seem read that thing just actually before we came on. I think it was like the Bournemouth Reserves Managerial Development team, that's whatever it's called, and he was kind of singing his praises and saying he didn't kind of come through the sort of traditional sort of academy route in England. He was like an attached finalist came to the age 16 has had to work quite hard to get to where he is, and I think sometimes when players are taking a wee bit of a slightly different route to get to where they are, and they've demonstrated the work ethic required to get to the level they've got to, hopefully that stands him in good stead up here, because he's going to have to work fucking hard. That's one thing that's for sure. If you're going to be playing a two-man midfield in this league, you're going to be working like a dog, baby.
Choose to be optimistic after we've seen the bits of quality from the two players that have played some significant minutes. We should just choose to be optimistic, and that the manager and the recruitment team have just got an eye for talent this January. And I don't know if you're going to mention it, I'm actually surprised at how busy we've been. I didn't expect to see the turnover in players. I think it's what we probably wanted. But, it's probably not what you expect coming into the window. I think we said maybe 2 or 3 max in and out, but and potentially more to come.
Right, but just before, I'm keen to get everybody's thoughts kind of on the signings, the ingoings and outgoings. We'll do our usual school grading system, a letter in which you want to grade it at, and then kind of what it leaves for Montgomery, because obviously, Chris, I'll come to you last because I know you've got a few opinions on the case. But Ewan, obviously, the main excuse for Montgomery is he's not got any of his own players. And one thing he did say at the start of the window is when we're bringing in players, it's going to be players that will impact the first team and will likely be in and around the starting lineup. And in fairness to him and McDermott and the recruitment team, they've done just that. They have brought in, as we've said, high caliber players. Has he got any excuses now, or do the results just simply need to start coming in?
Truth is, Harry, they do need to improve quick if we want to sort of, well, first of all, hold on to our place in the top 6, and then obviously hopefully push on as well, because they're the better team. But again, at the weekend, so it's a game we should have won. Going to Kilmarnock, and before the game, you probably would have taken a point, and then especially when you're 2-0 down, but we definitely should have won the game, in my opinion, in terms of the balance of chances and how good we played for the opening 20 minutes and then the second half. So whilst there is cause for optimism with the players that have come in, we definitely should. We definitely need to see the results improve.
And then if you give me a letter so far for the January transfer window for incomings and outgoings.
Probably a B. We've still not signed a centre back. The window closes on Wednesday, I assume. It's kind of Monday night.
I think it normally pushes to the Friday, if I'm not mistaken, so it might be the 3rd.
So what's that, Thursday? So still, I'll go for a B. It's hard to judge these things in the middle of the window, obviously, but there's definitely opportunity for it to be even an A if you get your centre back in and the players continue on the sort of trend that they are on just now.
And Liam, kind of same question to yourself?
Probably a C, just on the basis there's not signed a centre. I think it's just a really key component of what we're missing. Most people shop in less, so every faith that they'll get. It's my C and maybe a grade into a B and an A.
And then Chris, but before we touch into your kind of reflection on the transfer window, for Montgomery, I know that a lot of fans, I think we just wanted to kind of jump on board with whoever came in. So being honest with myself, I am looking at him for a lot more an optimistic lens than I did during the whole tenure of Lee Johnson. But you don't seem to be of the same eyesight as me. So what has kind of put you off so far? And yeah, just give us your whole kind of vibe towards Montgomery.
It's all wrapped up in everything. I feel like I'm not happy with the club. I'm not happy with Montgomery. It's all a mix, and I don't really know who is the sort of main culprit here, because I mean it really goes back to the end of last season. If you're only going to if Lee Johnson is 3 league defeats away from getting the sack, just get rid of him in the summer. Get someone else in. I maintain we were actually quite a good 4-3-3 team going forward, at least, even under Johnson. With a few decent additions and a manager who played that style, or at least can be a little bit flexible with that style, we could have hit the ground running, where our quote-unquote main rivals, Hearts and Aberdeen, had promoted coaches from within. They didn't hit the ground running. But we didn't either. We didn't either because we didn't do that. We just stuck with Lee Johnson for 3 league matches, 3 defeats. Then he was out the door. Now, if you've signed players for a 4-3-3 to play that way with high wide wingers, 3 in the middle, just get someone who can play like that. Get someone who can play like that because you've got good players going forward. That's your strength. So get someone who will utilise them. Don't go out and get someone who wants to take a whole root and branch approach in whenever it was, like September. Like, you know what I mean? Because then you're waiting until January, and especially with what is on offer at the end of the season with finishing third for the last time that you'll get, provided obviously Rangers, Celtic, or the team in third wins the cup, you'll go straight in the group stages. I just think the appointment was, regardless of what you think of Montgomery, I think it was a poor appointment given what the players that were at the club, given what's on offer for finishing third in the league. I just think it was a very left field appointment, and it has cost us third place now. Like we won't finish third. Hearts will. They'll pocket however many more millions that is, and then you're kind of still playing catch up. And then to move on to Montgomery, I just feel like he's been very inflexible, and it's very frustrating. It's great that he has a sort of philosophy and he wants to play this way, but you need to move with what's there. You can't just say like, well, this is how we play now, and everyone goes, right, well, we don't really know how to do that. Well, okay, well, you'll learn. It's like, well, but what? It just doesn't make much sense to me. I think good managers react to situations, and that's how I think of a modern progressive coach, as someone who identifies strengths and weaknesses and in his own team and in the opposition team, and works out ways to solve problems. But it just doesn't feel like Montgomery does that, and it's frustrating. I could be wrong. I think I would say though, when you first asked me to come on to do this, Harry, which was kind of just after the Motherwell game, I think, going into the winter break. So I was probably a bit less confident then in Montgomery. I think the window has been good on paper. Well, I mean, we're yet to see it in practice, but the window has been good, and obviously the confirmation of the Bill Foley stuff kind of changes the landscape again a little bit. So, I don't know. I don't know what's the best way to explain it, but I like football as entertainment. I like football as fun. I like football as art, Harry. But but I don't know. I feel like this very. I know people say that it's not strictly 4-4-2 and it's all about in possession and out of possession, and I understand that. Or well, I actually don't understand that, but I understand that people know that. But I like to go to the football, and I like to sit down or stand up, and I like to stand up at the football and watch the team just be good, and not even necessarily good, just quick, attacking, exciting. And I just feel like that has not been there since he's come in, and I feel like that's what we were sold. We were sold somebody who would do that, and it just hasn't happened. And again, I understand your own players, etc., and hopefully this window will make a bit of a difference. But is it too late for the season? I think it probably is. I think it probably is. We're not going to. Don't know how many points Hearts are ahead of us now, but we're not going to make that up. So it seems like a real opportunity wasted. I think this season, and that's not strictly Montgomery's fault, but I don't think he's helped himself.
And then that was genuinely very good. I think if there was two sides of the debate, you've perfectly outlined one of the sides of the debate. But if we were to try and put a bit more of a positive cap on it looking forward, as you say, he's got the new signings, and we'll get your grade in a second. But what's Montgomery got to do from now to the end of the season? If we're being realistic, third does kind of feel like it's off the cards. But what can Montgomery do to kind of get yourself and other fans that are kind of on that side of the fence with you back on side?
Well, I think one of the main issues that we had towards before the winter break was that we weren't even having many shots on target, never mind scoring many goals. So I think now that he's got these attacking players in, which suit his system, I would like to see us scoring goals. I'd like to see us going forward and just scoring more freely and not coming away being like, did we only have 2 shots on target today, for example? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would like it to be like, dominate teams and actually just, maybe win comfortably. Actually, it's not. I'm not asking too much, but maybe if we could just win a single game comfortably, that would be a start.
And then, just before we get to that, Liam or Ewan, is there anything in particular there you wanted to ask about? Obviously, we did cover a lot of ground there. I don't want to leave it on any stone unturned if you want to ask anything on that.
Hard to argue with Harry because it's pretty well thought out. It's not irrational. And I think something for me, I would like Hibs to score more than 2 goals in a game. We've not scored more than we haven't actually scored more than 2 goals in a league game under Mick Montgomery, which for me that feels like if you're an attacking team, you are capable of scoring 3 goals in a game of football. It doesn't seem unrealistic to me. But what I'll say, maybe just to counter it a little bit, for me, the first 20 minutes definitely at the weekend felt better. It felt quicker. It felt less rigid for me. I think I'd said to you guys in the group chat after the Rangers game when we were talking about various things, the wingers were always on the same side. I felt like it had been that way. There was a little bit more fluidity. Jair and Eliuan, albeit they didn't have their best games quite early in the game, they started switching wings. It felt more fluid at the weekend, and I would hope that we see that kick on. I think we were all hoping we would come back from the winter break at the Forfar game, the Rangers game, and see a different Hibs team to what we'd seen in the derby and against Motherwell, which we probably didn't. But I do think we've seen something a little bit different on Saturday. And if we can sort of build on that now in a tough run of games that you can pick up points in, though, I think 4th is in play. I think we would have to do well and become a lot more consistent, but I think 4th is definitely in play, and obviously this weekend's game would go a long way towards that.
Very simple for me. What to do. I mean, you're right in saying 4th isn't playing. It's up for grabs, and I know it's going to be incredibly difficult with all the teams that are left in the draw. But I mean, you always ask the question, but why not Hibs? Like, we're bringing in these players who are undoubtedly going to improve us to the end of the season. Who says we can't be the form team in the league? Maybe going into the split. Obviously, after the split, things become difficult. It's the fixtures then typically if you're in the top 6 are really difficult. But I do think that 4th in a cup is an extremely successful season in charge of Hibs. Probably really goes beyond anything that any of us have seen in our lifetime. So, while it's still in play, why not aim for the top? And I completely agree with what you and Chris have said in terms of creating chances and scoring goals. I mean, that's the big thing. It's not a big ask because I wanted to see us give a team a proper Hamilton Yankees or Livy at home style 6 or 7-0 doing this season. I really wanted to see that because I think with the attacking players we've got, I think we should be capable of that. But for whatever reason, Montgomery has been playing them with the handbrake on for quite a period now, really since the Rangers away game. I just want us to get back to being a bit more rock and roll, I think, ultimately.
Absolutely.
I'm in on that as well, and I think winning a cup and finishing 4th, they are fairly difficult objectives still. But see, even if we can go into the summer feeling semi-positive, and you can say, see that game and that game and that game, that's what we're going to look like next season. Because I still think right now, I said it before, we need to see 90 minutes of what a Nick Montgomery team looks like, and we can say, right, see going into next season, that if we do that more consistently, that is what will make us a success. Because right now, you're still going, what really is it? Is it 4-4-2? Is it a more slow build-up, keeping the ball, building it from the back, or is it, like Liam says, a little bit more rock and roll? I just want to see something that we can really hang on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Something a bit more exciting, because I know Montgomery himself countered it by saying that he doesn't think that we're very easy to play against. But that I mean, it seems to me like we are extremely easy to play against. Playing out for the back with players that take touches and then come back to centre half, back to the goalie, back to the right back. It goes across. Whoever you're playing can just get two backs of four or however many in front of you, and they're just sat there waiting on you to advance forward, which we eventually do, and it very rarely comes to anything. I saw a statistic that we have like one of the lowest amount of crosses in the league this season, and I mean, I think that is, this is just my feeling from being at the games, is that's because we eventually get the ball wide. It takes us so long to do it that teams are just there to defend, and we have to come back, and then we go back to the midfield again, then we go out to the left, don't get anywhere there, come back. So we have all these passes, but we never actually kind of go anywhere with it, and it's the least rock and roll football I've seen in a while.
See on that point about being easy to play against, I think the thing ultimately that makes us the most easy to play against is we just concede really bad goals a lot of the time. We haven't actually conceded a goal where that was a terrific football, and we were unfortunate to concede there for a very long time. The goals against Motherwell, the goals at the weekend, they're all so preventable from a defensive perspective. Actually, there is a certain I suppose about it is like from a defensive point of view, but I think a lot of the time it's just lapses in concentration ultimately which cost us. It's the hardest thing to do as a centre or as a defender in any description is to be able to concentrate for 90 minutes. Despite what people might tell you, it's an incredibly difficult thing to do.
And just one final thing, and then we'll actually come on to the game. But Chris, you wrote me a letter. What are you rating the transfer window so far?
I mean, we will sign a centre half, I think, but how you rate the transfer window depends on what centre half it is you're signing. So it could be anywhere from maybe a B down to like a C minus, depending. No, well, maybe just a B or a C, I would probably say, depending on which centre half we do get to come in, because we need someone to come in and be a starting centre half. So if it's going to be some 21-year-old on loan from somewhere who's played 10 games, is that going to actually improve us, or would we be better off with Paul Hanlon? But we need somebody who's going to be like, right, okay, they just start now. And there's names that get thrown around, and we all hear them, and there's certain ones where you're like, yeah, if it was him, brilliant. That's a really good transfer window. We move. But if it's a loanee from a Premier League club or something who doesn't really understand or know Scottish football, then it becomes a wee bit like it's just more chance, isn't it? So somewhere between a B and a C, depending on who comes in before deadline day.
Well, I'll do my usual when it comes to this point in the window. We've not got our defender. I'll go drastically low. I'll give us a D minus because I want a centre back, and I've wanted a centre back for about literally coming up to about 1,300 days at this point.
Yeah.
But moving on quickly. So just in terms of the game, obviously we've touched on a few things. We don't need to focus on the new players because I think we've kind of touched on them. But one thing I wanted to mention is I think the wingers both really struggled. I think Yuan, kind of, when people are saying why is Yuan out the team, I think his positioning and his lack of preventing the cross for the first goal and his lack of work rate at times coming back, I think is probably why. But then the argument is Yuan is probably good enough that he should be put in positions where he's not having to track back and not having to use his off the ball work rate. And then Jair, as you know, I try and bang the drum for Jair, but I thought that was probably his poorest game under Montgomery. Liam,
it's just a major regression to the mean, isn't it? I mean, that is just what Jair is as a footballer. Unfortunately, this is what happens: is you have a few good games, people build you up, and then you start to see probably why he wasn't really involved an awful lot in the 14 months that preceded it. Because there's definitely some time there, but is he good enough to be starting every single game and playing 90 minutes a week? Not for me, I'm sorry. Just low key for a long time. He's been not poor, but just very edge, and his numbers just don't get him in the team for me. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't create enough chances. So he'd be coming out of the team pretty sharpish for me with some of the other players that we've got available.
And then you obviously being at the game, what was kind of your main overarching takeaway? What were you chatting about in the car with your sister on the way back?
Much the same as what Liam said there. Really, Tavares' numbers, they're not there. Like Eli Yuan, I think you can carry him for his output. He will be incredibly frustrating for 80 minutes in a game, sometimes 90 minutes, depending on how long he plays. But the goals and the assists remain there. They remain a consistent threat. For me, Tavares, the one thing for Tavares, I might even said it last week, he never shows to go to the byline. He never shows in behind. He always wants the ball to feet. See, against Rangers, Tavernier was so uptight against him, one pass in behind and he was away, loads of space. And for whatever reason, whether it's a coaching thing or just a confidence thing, I don't know, he always wants it to feet, he always wants it to take it on. And he is also to Yuan's detriment. Obviously, Yuan's having to play on the right-hand side. I think we've probably seen a big enough sample size, Liam, to know that Eli Yuan is much better on the left-hand side than he is on the right-hand side. And for me, you want your best players in the best positions.
And Chris, I don't want to always feel reticent to drag on a player too much, but do we think that with the players we've brought in and discussed earlier, that'll probably be Jair's last start for a while?
Yeah, probably. And then, I mean, you would think once Boyle comes back, he'll play more on the right, and then it'll be between Maulida and Yuan to play on the left. You would think, and it will be Jair that drops out on a more kind of permanent basis. Although I know Yuan gets a lot of grief, and I think the kind of obsession with sort of giving him grief is that people know what he can do, but I also feel like there's a bit of a fundamental misunderstanding of the type of player that Yuan is. He's a maverick. He's another maverick. He gives you moments. Will he have bad games? Will he have bad runs? Yeah, of course he will. Of course he will. If you want to replace him with someone who works better in a system, then you're not going to get those moments that Yuan provides. So you sometimes just have to take the rough with the smooth. I thought he did have a very poor game on Saturday. He still always wants the ball and he still tries things. He never sort of, he never kind of hides or changes how he plays. He still just gets the ball and tries to make things happen. Sometimes it just doesn't work. But yeah, neither of them were particularly good. But going forward, it'll be, or it certainly should be, Jair that drops out and becomes more of a substitute.
And then Chris, Wells Lemonia, a player that I actually feel bad for because I think he's actually had a relatively good few months. But David Marshall for the second goal. Liam Young sent us out a question saying, having conceded the third most goals in the league and with Marshall unlikely to be given a new deal, should we not be looking to bring Murray Johnson in as a long-term option? It's blatantly obvious the defence have no confidence in what's behind them. So I'll break it down. We'll hit Liam Young's question, that is, in a second. But for myself, Marshall has had a good few months, but for you, the second goal, it was pretty unacceptable, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he has had a good couple of months, and I thought he'd kind of turned a corner, and he seems to enjoy the playing out from the back thing, and his distribution is generally actually quite good. Whether the odd clanger aside, but yeah, I think that ball lands so close to his line on Saturday. He should just be coming for it. I don't know. Only he could tell you why he didn't. So yes, a new goalkeeper, and I mean Murray Johnson. I think I've seen him play for the development squad a couple of times in the youth league thing that they played in. Very highly rated by all accounts. So yeah, we should definitely be. You would imagine that probably will be the plan. They'll try to get him in more Don't think it'll be this season, but yeah, certainly going towards next season. We would probably sign a new goalie as well, though we can't really just go into the new season with, I don't know how old Johnson is, but it's
19,
not very old. Right, aye. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to sign someone. We'll have to sign a new goalie in the summer, and I think we will. But Johnson will be there, and he should definitely be given a chance when the time's right.
Maybe like a cup goalkeeper type situation.
I mean, maybe. We don't really do that though, do we?
No.
Maybe we should.
You seem to be appalled at the notion of Murray Johnson being swapped in. Talk to me.
I just think it's such an easy shout that I don't think needs to be the solution. Say Harry has had a good couple of months. He had a dodgy kick out against the Rangers, which made it 3-0 in a game we were getting beat anyway. And yeah, maybe if it came to a cross ball, like I don't want. We're talking about consistency in defence. Well, the goalkeeper should probably be considered a part of that, and just like anyone else, yeah, his position should be under threat and under pressure at all times if you've got the squad there. But right now, obviously, Walcott's away with Ghana. He'll be back soon. I think they went out over the weekend, so he might be the one to come in. I just don't expect Murray Johnson to be the one to step in right now, and I also don't necessarily think it's fair. I don't think Megwa or Whittaker are in a position right now to nail down the starting right back slot, but they're having to play right now, and they're getting a little bit exposed. I wouldn't want the same thing to happen with Murray Johnson, because things like that can knock confidence so quickly.
And one of the questions we got sent, and a couple of people sent in about Dylan Vente, but Kev Wilson said, Ewan and Vente are arguably our two best players, and the manager's wasting their ability. Wouldn't be surprised if they're not at the club next season. And then good mate Siebel said, Emmy Marcondes, HSE, do you think Vente is in danger of losing his place with a lack of output, or does the lack of quality service cover him? Hopefully Marcondes adopts the role Vente's been playing the last few months. So in short, why is Vente not being contributing, and do you think there's a possibility he could be dropped?
For who?
I think. Yeah, well, that's a good point. That's a good point. We don't really have anyone to step in, do we? We don't have another natural number 9, I don't think. So I think, in all honesty, I mean, you could make an argument either way, couldn't you? That he's not creating for himself, so he's not getting himself into the positions potentially. Then you could also argue that there's just a complete lack of service, because other than the shot from range he had at the weekend, I'm struggling to really remember many other opportunities he's had in recent weeks. So, or recent games even. I wouldn't personally be dropping him, because I think we know what he has in terms of, the start that he had to his Hibs career was at 5 goals at his first 5 shots. I mean, you don't do that. That's kind of the sort of run that extends beyond just being good luck. Like, that's not Christian Doidge scoring a hat-trick where 3 of them come off his body parts that aren't his foot or his head. This is a guy that I think ultimately can and probably should be, at this point in the season, sitting on 10, 15 goals. But he's not, because we've not either had him in the right positions or we've not created chances for him. So I would persevere with him personally. And even if we did have another option, I'd probably still be tempted to persevere with him. But the fact that we don't have an option kind of makes it a bit of a question that I don't think there's really any other response to. I don't really want us to go back to the days of Ewan sort of playing as a sole centre forward, because again, I don't really think that gets the best out of him. There was a brief period last season where he looked quite effective in doing it, but in all honesty, those were games where we gave up a lot of possession and just looked to spring teams on the counter. That's not really the team we are this season.
And then final thing on the game, give me a head nod or shake the head if you can't be bothered. VAR, are we going to discuss that or no? Yeah, nah. Red card, fair enough, given it afterwards. Vente probably would have felt hard done by if that was given against Hibs the other way, like we did when it happened with Yilmaz. So yeah, happy to not discuss VAR, because you know how much I hate it. But as we've discussed, I don't want to over dramify, that's not a word, this game that's coming up at the weekend, but it feels like there's a lot resting on the game against St Mirren. I think if we beat them, we either go on level points with them or we're behind them with a game in hand to go level points, one of the two situations. So Ewan, coming to you first, just how big a game is this for Montgomery and for Hibs' season overall?
it would take us level with them, with a game in hand as well. So yeah, no big game if we want to really start to kick on, and you want to start building. I've said a few times tonight we've got a tough run of fixtures coming up. I think St. acquitted himself well against Rangers at the weekend. Although I don't think they ever really struggle in their games. It'll be interesting to see what sort of St. Mirren we see, because even probably the St Mirren we've seen on the first day of the season versus maybe the St Mirren we've seen right after the League Cup semi-final, they felt like a different side. They are in a bit of a slump themselves. So it's a game that I think Hibs should be expecting to win, regardless of how they play. And it's a game we need to win. You know, we need to get better at home. I think Nick Montgomery's currently got a 33% win ratio. I think I heard someone say the other day. I think we've only won 7 games out of our last 17 at home under him and Lee Johnson, I think, as well. So it's time to start winning at Easter Road again and put a little bit of marker down.
Yeah. And Chris, just kind of looking at the team, where is it the Hibs should be winning this game? What from the weekend did you see that we should kind of try and get on the go from the off?
Just get the ball to Marcondes. Now, I think just a bit more. Just if we can play with more pace, I think we'll really cause teams a lot of bother. If we can try and break lines and try and get get passes in behind, which is just something we never seem to do. I mean, it's always tough with the two in midfield. I never feel confident going into games with the midfield two. I don't know if Liam, you were talking earlier about will Amos be fit enough to play? Would you change the midfield two? Would you still play Newell and Levitt? I don't know. It's certainly a huge game, and it's certainly a game that Hibs should be up for. Back at home on grass this time against a team that you can actually take the game to, with all the new boys kind of more settled in than just more settled in all the time. That they've every week they're more settled. So it's a big game. I would like you said, I would like to see us put a marker down. We were talking about how we want to make chances, how we want to score goals. I would like to really see that on Saturday.
And Liam, Chris kind of touched on it there, and I know you love doing it. So let's start building the team and what we think it will actually look like at the weekend. The only question in the back five, including the goalkeeper, Megwa. I know some people have put question marks over his head, but for you, does he just kind of start at the moment until Miller gets back?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And then looking at the midfield, would you change what we've seen with, if we were just looking at the midfield too, would you change what we've seen with Levitt and Newell? Try and squeeze one of the new two boys in there?
I think if Amos is good to go, I think you go with Amos and Newell.
That's what I thought. That's what I would predict. If all those players were fit, I would say you at least try Amos and Newell as soon as you can, because that just seems to have a better balance to it. And if Amos is going to get about the pitch more, then that's what we need. We need legs around Newell.
Yeah.
Or we just need legs in the midfield in general.
I think if St Mirren have got Mark O'Hara, I don't know if Mark O'Hara's back fit. I noticed they've started playing that Korean guy on loan from Celtic. I don't want to kind of exacerbate any stereotypes, but generally the Korean players are pretty mobile and work pretty hard in the centre of the pitch, and that's why they get into their teams. So I would imagine they'll be pretty hard to go up against. Bacchus is obviously away at the Asian Cup of Australia, I think, isn't he? So maybe he's not available, but they'll have three in the middle of the pitch, and they'll probably have two big workmen up front as well. So one thing St Mirren do, I mean, they maybe lack quality at times, but you know what you're going to get from them, and they're going to be robust. We're going to have to find a way to match that up, and I just don't think Levitt and Newell's the combination to do that.
So it's essentially the thought process from you both, and you can chime in with your thoughts as well, as if Amos and Newell play, just kind of give us a bit more, like it covers more of the pitch essentially, because Newell and Levitt just seem to both drop deep, and even Marcondes was getting involved at times. But do you think Amos would be a bit more cover out every blade of grass type player?
I think so.
So for Harry, that looks like the type of player he'll be. And we've said enough times on this podcast that midfielders don't need to be the best football player in the world to excel in this league, they need to be able to cover the ground. They need to be athletic. You know, I've said, Greg will kill me, but Marco Hara isn't that good a football player, but he can run about for days and score a couple of penalties. You know, like that. And last year he looked excellent doing that. You know what I mean? Like, that is literally all you really need. Like,
and then I'll walk us through the front four and jump in if you think I've got anything wrong. As we established, you're kind of Venti up top. That's your only real option there. And then Marcondes, of course. Liam hates the expression, but first name on the team sheet is Marcondes at the moment. And then for wingers, I would take the risk of trying the new boy Maulida. I'd put him on the right and then put Yuan back on the left. I just think that Yuan cutting inside just gives us a different element, and it kind of leads to Beta being able to overlap. I think we've seen a lot less of a Beta moving forward with Tavares in front of him. So I think if Yuan's there, it kind of involves him a bit more in the game. And as you say, if you've got more legs in the midfield, it will track back and forth, then it means that hopefully Newell or etc. will be able to cover if a Beta does want to bomb down the wing. In terms of the wingers, that's probably the last debate that we've got. Is that how you guys would line up, or would you guys mix it from there? Chris, come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, since you said that, I'm kind of like, yeah. I'm sure maybe the other two will be able to give you more of a reason, but I'm just like, yeah, that sounds good, Harry. No, I think now I would like. It sounds harsh, but I'd like to see Gier drop out the team now. So if that means Maulida and Yuan, however you think that would be the best, what side you think would be best, and as we discussed earlier, Yuan, we all kind of agree is far more effective on the left, which would really mean there's Maulida can only go on the right. So. I don't know, because are we going to have the same issues with Megwa being exposed by Maulida being on the right? Because is he going to do the working back? I don't know. It doesn't, from what I've read about Maulida, it certainly doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is ultimately this is just a way to get the Bells Hill Cafu back into the team. Like Chrissy Cadden is going to return on the right wing because of what he can do in terms of covering the right back. I genuinely think that he that's probably his way back into the team when he comes back at the moment, because I don't think really at the moment we've got someone who you really feel that comfortable playing on the right hand side midfield. There's no one that you're looking at going, oh, he needs to play. And you don't really want to put a centre midfielder in there tucking in the Montgomery system, so again needs to be an out and out winger. So maybe there's plans to bring someone in, or maybe we're just waiting for Boyle.
Yeah,
it's not unavailable. 3 left wingers that are all available, so it's just like Australia are not playing South Korea or Saudi Arabia in the next round, so hopefully they'll be coming home fairly soon from their jolly.
Right. And then just to round it off, guys, as we always do, Liam, another one of his favourite parts of the show. We're going to do predictions, guys. Predictions for the weekend. You get the ball rolling. What's the score going to be? Who's going to be the star man?
Am I going to get what I've been asking for tonight? That's the question. 4 past St Mirren last time they were at Easter Road, so why not? 4-1 to Hibs.
Oh, Chris, are we keeping the positivity flowing, or are we not that hype?
Let's say that the centre half that we sign is the one that I want us to sign. He gets his first clean sheet. Emmy's going to score. Yuan will score. Get everybody back on his side. Maulida will score. Venti will score 4-0.
Oh my God, Liam, I'm not popping this bubble. Please, give me your opinion, mate.
I'm gonna stick to Hibs scoring 4, but I think it's going to be a repeat of the League Cup scoreline 4-2. I think we are still very, very susceptible to conceding bad goals, as we talked about earlier on. But to be honest, give me a 4-2 win over a 2-0 any day of the week. 4-2, it goes without saying, but so much better. Give me a bit of drama in there as well. Cut the red cards. I'll go down nicely. 4-2 Hibs.
Always means the goals mean a bit more as well when there's goals going back and forth. Like if you're 4-0 up and then you concede 2, it's a bit But if you're like 1-0 down and then come back, oh, magic. All right, well, I'm not going to give us 4, boys, because there's a special man that's getting a hat trick. We've got the majestic Marcondes who's going to bag a hat-trick and we're going to win 3-1. He's going to be the entire show and we're all just going to be living in it. But guys, we've covered pretty much everything we needed to cover there. Chris, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Hey, definitely. And then you and Liam, thanks as always.
No
and
worries,
thank you guys
mate. Good
for
to see
listening.
you.
We'll catch
Cheers.
you next time.
Go on, Hibs.
Cheers.